All right, today we're going to look into plastic welding. You've probably seen some information online on how to do it. You know, you take a soldering iron and you kind of melt your crack frame. What I got here is an 85X. It's not an 85X, it's an UZ85, which I thought was indestructible, but today I managed to do that to it. So instead of using the cloth tape and super glue method that I've done before, and I'll put a card on the top right hand corner on how I did it, I'll be using the plastic welding method, but I do things a little differently. I use 3D filaments to melt on top of that to fill in the gap. I mean, sure, you can probably use other frames to plastic off like a loaner frame and melt it on there, but what I found when you do that is once you melt it with your soldering iron, the plastic composition, I guess, changes where it becomes more brittle. That's why instead of using a donor plastic or just using the plastic and melting it on here, I use 3D filament to fill the gap. And not just any 3D filament. I've tried using PLA. That didn't work that well. This is black TPU, and it gives that extra flexibility, and it's rigid enough that it seems to be working pretty well. I have one frame that I've done it to, and it's holding up quite well actually. But we're gonna try. I'll show you how I do it with this method. Obviously, the first thing you want to do is clean the frame off with rubbing alcohol. You want the surfaces to be clean regardless. One of the other benefits of using this plastic welding method as opposed to the cloth tape and super glue is the fix is done a lot faster. It's pretty much instantaneous, really. Once everything cools down, you're good to go. So you know, if you're in the field and you break your frame and you have a soldering iron with you, you can just use that to weld it in place, even if it's just temporary, and so you can get it back to your bench and use this method of using TPU filament to fill in the gaps and seal it up. Another thing too with the cloth tape method and using the plastic welding is it's very situational, I guess, to what type of breaks you get. If it's on the duct like this, cloth tape seems to work well because it's easy to just wrap around. But when it's like on a spoke like that, it's kind of hard to wrap cloth tape around there and soak it in super glue. You could probably, but let's just use a different method this time. So we get this all cleaned up with rubbing alcohol. Get it all prepped. Iron should be hot enough. I use a tip that, you know, I don't mind ruining. And then what you do once this dries, hold it in place without burning myself. On inner duct, I will tack it closed somehow. So I will just run it across. So that should be. Now it's not moving anywhere. This will help keep it together in the meantime. And then the same thing with the spoke here. I'll just do it inside. Make sure it's lined up properly. Like that. So that's temporary tack. Then with my black TPU, I'll just kind of melt a section of it off. Helps to have a silicone soldering mat. And then essentially just melt it in place. Hardest part is trying not to burn myself. Get more plastic or TPU. Inside as well. Another nice thing about using the plastic weld method is it doesn't really add too much more weight as opposed to cloth tape and super glue. I mean, you're essentially soaking that cloth tape with a liquid, right? So there must be a little bit of added weight to it. Right, that's the spoke done. Let it cool off a bit while I try to figure out how to get in there. This is a really awkward break because it's just right where this, I think this is a LED holder. It's kind of in the way. So I thought cut it off or just melt the filament in there, which is I think what I'm going to do. So melt some more. And you're not limited to just black. You can use whatever color you want, I guess, if you want to make it look tacky. How to get in that groove is going to be hard. Some more. Seems good. All right, it's time to get some in there. Might be easier with a finer tip iron, but whatever. I think that's it. More. think that's it. Let it cool off, and once it's cooled off, it's pretty much good to go. I mean, it ain't pretty, but black on black, you can't really tell, right? See, right there and right here. Let's check the rigidity. Look at that. See, there's enough flexibility that I can kind of move around, won't really break. I'm really giving it to her too. This one right here too. And I think that is it. Plastic welding using 3D filament TPU ones. That's it.